right. Recession. Recession? Are we? Is there? What's happening? You know, lots of conversation about this. We're in the weekly site report number 3 coming at you. Got a few different things going on. This is always the one that we talk about. No, we don't talk about it, but it's come up more recently just because of rising interest rates, et cetera. Lots to talk about. James, how you doing? How you doing? There's James. James is joining us from New York. I believe that is the Brooklyn Bridge in the background. And James, it's great to have you joining from New York. James, how you doing? Yeah, no, doing well. Doing well. Yeah, New York, I believe, yes, Brooklyn Bridge, not Manhattan Bridge. I was a little confused about that prior, but I think we got that straightened out. All right, well, lots of cameras today. If you haven't, check it out on YouTube. We've done the last couple episodes, full episodes. Right, James? James, how you doing? Yeah, man, still doing well. Still doing well. It's good to see you, though, on the East Coast, on the other side of North America. Doing well. James is, he's over there, actually, with DMZ, Toronto Metropolitan University. We're a part of an accelerator program. This is through SiteMax, our company, and this is what he's doing over there. He was in Tokyo not too long ago. Now he's in New York doing the road show. Anyway, it's good to have James joining us from New York, and good to be digging into things just a little bit further here with our third installment of the weekly site report. Again, on YouTube, check us out. The last few episodes, they've been up there, getting a sense of how it all goes down, how clips, reels, everything, how everyone interacts. Get over there. Subscribe to the channel. Please like those clips, like those videos. There's a lot more coming out. This is going to be a fun one. All right, well, James is in New York. I'm not going to say that anymore. He's actually not joining today. It's just me. It's going to be me today, but we've got some hard-hitting stuff to talk about today. Again, weekly site report number 3. We're going to talk about, is there a recession coming? Just chatter a lot about that. Lots of things to go through. Breaking down some articles from Construction Dive as well as Site News. Site News sent out their weekly site report. Not their weekly site report, their weekly newsletter, which has been going on for quite a while. And we're going to get Russell Hickson back on here. He puts that beautiful newsletter out. It's fantastic, by the way. But yeah, that came out today. They did a whole section on actually labor, and we talk about that a lot. So kind of tying in labor with recession talks, et cetera. But also looking at some numbers, interest rate hikes in Canada, as well as some housing, construction numbers in all sectors in the United States. And then jumping into a little bit of contact and talking about fragmentation of construction tech offerings, and also just requirements from contractors and general contractors just being different. And we'll jump into that as well. And then talking a little bit about Verify. All right. This is a thing from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, something that lines up verifying workers with the businesses that they're going to work for. Again, I think that these things, Dave, we got producer Dave. It's just me today. I'll be bouncing some things off Dave a little bit here. Also, I'm already feeling it. I'm going to be drinking probably a lot of water. I've never done this. I've been looking forward to this, Dave. Doing this kind of by myself, but also going through some great articles and hopefully getting some banter back and forth with Dave. But it sounds like, and we were chatting about this earlier before we got rolling here, we've been kind of hitting this 3 topic segments here in the weekly site report. It's been a little bit of industry insights to start off in the first one. We've talked a lot about labor. We've dealt with a few other generic things in the construction industry. And then a con-tech or construction tech segment. We've talked about investment from companies like Ellis Dawn into the construction industry and con-tech startups with their own accelerator program. And then we've kind of done this like third segment that's been controversial stuff. Dave chuckles at that one. We're trying to hit these things as objectively as possible, obviously. We're a construction podcast. Culture and construction, hey, they blend together. Lots of construction men and women, straight shooters, like to talk about all these things. But again, trying to open up these things to both sides. We talked about, what was the first one, Dave? Last weekly site report, we did the opioid crisis. And the first one, the 15-minute city. That's right, yeah. And actually kind of want to dig into that one a bit more, probably with people who know a little bit more what they're talking about. And again, construction guy, been in contact for 6 years, kind of removed from physical construction for a while, but still know the game pretty well. But definitely getting in more pros to discuss these things. And actually, speaking of that, we talked a little bit about robotics a couple weeks ago. That company that we discussed actually might be joining us, chatting with them later on this week, but that'll be fun to actually dig into that just a little bit more. All right. Well, before we get into that, the last couple weekly site reports, they've been doing pretty well, getting a lot of good feedback on those. Again, go check those out on YouTube. It's just at SiteMax. Hop on there. We're going to be putting out all sorts of clips, reels, breakdowns of these episodes, little tidbits and nuggets to digest, as well as the full length, which has been pretty well received to date. A little bit of a we're up here in Canada. We're in Vancouver. Proud Canadian moment this weekend. We had our National Golf Open. This isn't a golf podcast. This is a construction podcast. I'm a golfer. James likes to golf. He's a golfer too. But pretty epic. First time in 69 years, a Canadian, Nick Taylor, took home our national championship. The 5th official major, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, my question is, other than celebrating that and the fact that it's now the U.S. Open this week, which I'm pretty excited about, one national open to another, is golf the sport for construction? I don't know. Dave, I mean, you know a little bit about construction having joined us, but is golf, I feel like it is.
I think it's more common. It's popping off everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's no doubt that the last few years have definitely seen a boom in construction. Even I have so many friends that I'm like, never would have thought they'd get out there to swing a club. Construction, non-construction. My wife has taken up golf. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, again, not a golf podcast, but let us know. Comment again. Get to the YouTube page, okay? And comment there or on any of our social. We're always posting these. Going to actually start posting this fully on Twitter. I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but actually starting to put these videos out on Twitter as well. Maybe that's a great place for conversation. So hop on there. Again, it's just all at SiteMax and get in there. Comment, is construction sport golf? Okay, one more golf thing. The Vancouver Construction Association had their annual tournament. It's a huge thing. Double shotgun at Northview, where they used to host the Air Canada Championship PGA event some years ago. I'm going to reminisce, get nostalgic. Anyway, that was taken home. That tournament was taken home by a few guys. I may or may not have been a part of that group. Shout out to James and Joel from Radius Security, as well as John from the Vancouver Golf Tour and Ledgeview. All right, end of golf rant. We'll see who's next in that one, though. All right, okay, this is episode 90. We're approaching episode 100. Let us know what we got to do for episode 100. I think that is going to be a bit of a celebration in itself. We got to do something big. Probably get in like alum, maybe site visit alum. Whenever we go to these events, and there's one this afternoon, meet the generals. Yeah, totally. Do a round table, and I think that would be a big hit. We bump into past guests, and we invite them back for like update episodes, and they tend to go pretty well. But we also would love to do that with a round table to celebrate the 100th episode of the Site Visit podcast. All right, yeah, and as I said, ICBA, that's the Independent Contractor Builder Association, Western Canada, represented. Big Meet the Generals meeting this afternoon. That'll be fun, and hopefully definitely see some site visit alum there as well. Looking to do a site visit event too. We'll get to that in another episode. Okay, that's it. Let's get into this. Boom. Recession. What recession? All right, so we're looking at we're looking at document here. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Not sponsored by Bubbly. Construction Dive. These guys put out a lot of really great industry insights and all sorts of things. Construction industry insights, economics. Now, I'm not an economist, but definitely as a consumer, someone, we're building a business that is affected by the economy, dealing with customers who are all affected by the economy. But looking at this here in construction in the U.S., they're saying question mark. Recession? Well, what happened to the good old days when, not to get into it too much, but when recession was simply, 2 negative quarters of GDP decline and boom, you're in a recession. Call it what it is. But you know what? Canada's a bit of a different story, just kind of been hanging on, slower growth, but not quite those multiple quarters of decline. In the U.S., kind of felt that a bit in the fall, but now construction going through here, crazy backlog of projects, crazy backlog of spending in all construction sectors, with the exception of residential, which is interesting. Looking at this, consumer spending down, probably U.S. and Canada both. Consumer debt at its highest. I think over $1 trillion in the U.S. Not sure what the number is in Canada, but I think I was reading earlier, of the G7 nations, Canada is the highest for consumer debt. I feel like I may be going on a bit of a tangent here on the consumer side of things, but I feel like when it comes to spending, and just like leadership, things trickle down, right? When you've got governments that spend and push loads of money out there into their economies to boost things up, but continuously do so just to prop it up. Spending in an undisciplined way kind of trickles down. Consumers, we feel sometimes, we deserve these things, we can buy these things, let's keep going. And in a way, kind of prop things up. People in the last couple of years with housing prices just shooting through the roof, people just buying more. They stretch themselves just super thin, just throwing out everything they can, get what they feel that they deserve. Hey, you know what? Everyone's working hard. Lots of people are working hard. These things are nice. Owning a home is great. But, hey, at some point, these things, they start to slow down. And going through this article here a little bit, talking about potential slower growth, but all these non-residential, industrial, commercial, we know obviously is going to be hurt quite significantly. Vacancy rates down for offices, et cetera, and all these renewals of loans and everything coming up in the next 18 months for commercial. Not looking so great. But yeah, here's a great chart, and this is what everybody can kind of look at here. You can see the red figures and what is actually, there's month over month, and then there's 12-month change. But total construction cost, spending in construction, 12 months up 7%, but in residential down almost 10% in the 12-month year over year. Slight uptick from previous month, however. But, this is something that we're going through here. There's always this just constant uncertainty, and it feels like it's just been going on year over year, just slowly. Are we going to hit this slowdown? Are we going to hit this downturn? Is this really just going to come to a grinding halt, or are we just slowing and just trying to, it's weird. I don't know. We're approaching interest rates that have been rising in both the U.S. and in Canada that are now, of 2008 levels. In Canada, we just upped it quarter point this past week, up to 4.75. And we'll get into more of the Canadian situation. But just looking at this in the U.S., is decline looming? I don't know. We'll see. But it's been strong. Non-residential spending, again, has just been going up. But we'll see. Scroll up a little bit there, Dave. So, yeah, we'll see what's going to go on. 2023, there's lots of good backlog. Seems to be a solid year still for non-residential construction in 2023, but far less certain in 2024 as this depicts. and largely due to consumer spending and a weakness that's mounting and tightening credit conditions, as we've been talking about. Canada's situation, it's strange. I mean, we've gone, it was the last one. The last one was January, I believe. January was the last interest rate hike, or earlier this year, rather. And we thought maybe we were done. The jobs report comes out. Now, this is the one that we just saw here in, we can kind of get off this construction dive one a little bit. Dave, there's one. Yeah, exactly. And so this came out, this is more Canada's situation. And this is kind of where, sure, recession talk's always kind of in the, it's always out there. It's always kind of the buzz in the background. But the labor market, that's always the buzz thing. How's it doing? Are there lots more jobs? What sectors are getting jobs? What's slowing down? And of course, construction. Always wondering about that labor shortage, skilled labor shortage. It's been ongoing. Got all this backlog of work. Do we have enough workers? Always struggling to get those great people to get to these projects, to complete them, to do them well. And, well, we see here, interest rates go up, but maybe prematurely. It's kind of what you're saying here. Ultimately, down 17,000 jobs from the job report. This is coming out from, these are StatsCan numbers, so Canadian numbers. Down 17,000 aggregate, 77,000 between the ages of 15 and 24. Now, overall, I think 25, the next segment there, they're up but down net negative numbers, 17,000 in the month of May. And, usually what's that saying? Is that saying, retail business slowing down, service slowing down? Are people spending less? Are they going out less? Are people, we've talked about it before, austerity measures? Are people reining it in, perhaps? Well, clearly, the jobs market is speaking when there aren't as many and significantly less available, especially to students, university age, those that are graduating, even high school, entering the job market. Just far less jobs, and also, just an inflation percentage that just seems to, as the report calls it, stubborn. Well, it just seems to keep trending slightly up. I think always trying to keep it within that 2% range, and they're saying here 4 and change. But keeping that number up, matching it with labor rates and hourly rates, average hourly rates, and just kind of keeping those in check. But that's climbing like crazy. I'm seeing kids, my son included, and I think I talked about this before, coming out of, he's in high school, but even his buddies, they're going to work jobs where they're making 20-something bucks an hour. High school students, and it happens to be in service, even though there are, a decline in numbers here in the month of May. These guys are getting out there and they're finding work, at least piecing together hours. But man, those wages, just trying to keep up with everything else that's going on is just crazy. But that's just staggering. It really is, that there's that many. So these are students. Okay, again, graduating students from high school, students in university. You're always going to work. You're doing something, right? Most do. In the U.S., I'd imagine, go to work. Got there's potentially big student debts to pay. And I'll bring this back to construction. This isn't just a general labor discussion or general unemployment numbers, rather. But I look at these kids and I'm like, okay, is there not work available, or do you not want to be working? Now, again, my son, maybe it's because it trickles down a little bit of work ethic or getting out there and hustling. He went out there, he found a job, he was pretty motivated. His friends are similarly, which is great to see. But we talked about, I think, last time as well. All right, so there's this gap, okay? There's this decline. Now the numbers are showing us it's affecting all industry. But construction, okay, they're saying spending's still hot in the U.S. Up here, we know we got lots of customers with SiteMax up here. They're busy. They got loads of work. Backlog is healthy for now. and they need people. Okay, so bringing this back around to construction. Labor market down, unemployment numbers slightly up. Construction, there's that hole. University age students. I will tie this back maybe again, I'm not just biased because I'm in construction or because I went through this process myself in university, worked my way through university doing form work and framing, getting real hands-on on the tools experience. But it was more than just, I was unticketed. I never went through any trade school. A lot of it was figuring out what to do, but man, construction really introduces you being on site. This is for anybody. There's not just dirty jobs like form work. There's lots of different ways to be involved in construction, trades, skilled trades, in so many ways, in so many different experiences and even interests that can be experienced here through construction. But for myself, going through that process there's a lot of life learning done in construction on the job site. There's a lot of people that you see that are, they're experiencing the real effects of a tightening economy. Things like, okay, getting back to the interest rate thing, rent is going to have to, which, yeah, you're shaking your head, Dave. Like, it's crazy. Maybe does housing slow down again? Not to get back into that conversation too much. Does it? Do people are they going to again rein in their spending? But rent, and lots of people are subject to that, and it's hard. I've got a few friends actually, trades workers, great guys. It's tough. Got to find more hours. Got to work more hours. I mean, there's only so much you can keep raising someone's hourly rate, right? They actually got to go and work, and they got to go make more. To be able to deal with, and this is just even 6 months ago with the rising interest rates and rising rent rates, or your mortgage if you're on a variable. It's tough, right? Especially those now even renewing on a fixed. It's a lot higher than we're used to. Again, the rates aren't.
Everyone's doing it, I think, even when landlords,
Yeah.
rental lenders, thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and
Wages are increasing.
yeah, well, that's right. I mean, like I say, with kids entering, they're getting paid crazy amounts of money, making, 20 some odd dollars an hour. I remember being in high school, my first job was at a driving range at a golf course. I was doing decent, but they also had this program where you had to make $6 an hour for your first 500 hours. I tell my son that, he's like, you're a sucker. I'm like, no, dude, that was life. Like that's what we had to do, and we had to go through it. And I was making more than that as a cashier at Save-On, much more, and then at the driving range as well. But then when I got back to working at a gas station, or my employer was like, "Oh no, I'm definitely putting you through that 500 hours at $6." Anyway, I'll never forget that, man, grinding it out. But I didn't think anything otherwise.
No, that's the way it was.
It's just the way it was, and that's like, okay, I'm cutting my teeth. And again, maybe that's these job numbers, are they not there? Or do people not want them? But it's the understanding that all this stuff at an early age is cutting your teeth. It's learning, it's gaining valuable life experience, work experience. Again, if you're able-bodied, if you're able to get out there and do these things. Now, again, construction, that's a great place to be. So yeah, that was mine. That was my experience. 5 years on the tools through university, doing a business undergrad, but again, working with my hands. I mean, you don't necessarily need to be, a lot with construction and a lot with the trades is you just got to get over that, the whole, maybe it's just the mindset. It's like, oh, I got to be outside. I got to be on site somewhere. I got to show up early. I got to be a morning person. Really, a lot of stuff right now is just, are you showing up? Are you a responsible young adult? Are you, do you have some work ethic that is, resembling of a job well done, or that could get a job well done? And so I look at this and I go, man, job numbers, openings, there's lots of them. Younger people not filling them. Construction needs people. Man, I know we talk about it a lot, but got to get these spots filled. And I think there's a lot of young men and women that could jump into trades. I was listening to I can't remember the name of the podcast, but it's a Canadian real estate podcasts. One guy's on the East Coast, one guy's on the West Coast. They're a real estate podcast, and they talked about trades for quite a while this week, and just saying it's a place to be. It's a place that people can go and they can make great livings, make great wages, great experience, great for your life. Yep. I don't know what this one was. I think this was just a part of that. Here again, jobs biting back. Yep. Oh, okay. I think that's the next one there. I don't know. Is there anything else on this, Dave? Anything that I think I'm pretty exhaustive. I hope this is like, I'm just doing this. I'm ranting, just going off on my own here. Yeah, working? Is it working? Let me know if it's working, guys. This won't probably happen all that often, but all right. Let's jump to the next one here. Contact, construction tech. Obviously, a little bit of some thoughts about this, some personal thoughts about this with SiteMax. But having done this, again, I just kind of shared I was on the tools in construction and then project management for 10 years. But this is the past 6 years building a contact business alongside James, who started the whole thing, and always just good insights and perspective. This one made so much sense, and I hope that those that are listening, because we have owners, we have consultants, we have general contractors, we have subcontractors, and those in the field as well as in contact, because we've been bringing lots of contact founders on in recent months. But this one made a lot of sense, and there's, I think, a lot to break down in this one here. Despite $50 billion of investment, contact is being held back by a fragmented customer base. So, I mean, investment aside, construction tech has been something, quite prominent in the last 2 decades. You had your early on ones, early 2000 drawing software, computer-aided design, then getting into BIM and all sorts of different fancy things. And then just more of your productivity, job site, project management, construction management tools. But then now, fast forward to 2020, even before that, so many different construction offerings, construction tech offerings for all the different nuanced little pieces of construction. Now, the landscape of construction tech and funding, it's been something that's, been funded with loads of greenfield, meaning tons of opportunity for, heavily, well over a decade. Lots of good companies, the PlanGrids coming out and partnering up or being bought by Autodesk, that type of thing. But, having been found in the early 2010s and then seeing a great amount of success through that decade. But then going through what was a lot of money, a lot of dry powder that entered the market for all tech, but construction tech in the past 3 years, which obviously slowed down about 12 months ago quite substantially. But the investment to all these things, so many different little companies popped up, and I'm getting somewhere with this, but so many different construction tech companies popped up. And that's because there's so many different nuanced pieces of construction that require a piece of software. This article, you can just take a look through it as I'm talking, but you can read. The reason these things come up, there's so many nuances between contractors. When they say it's fragmented because of a customer base, well, first of all, construction was fragmented to begin with. There's loads of different people, different trades on every job site, lots of paper, lots of manual communication, lots of things that just are broken down and, disorganized. So those get addressed by your project management tools, your end-to-end tools, your construction management tools, etc. But then you have, and this is from our personal experience with SiteMax, you got loads of customers who do things differently. And to put them all into one box, and this is not too terribly different from, say, a corporate project management tool like an Asana or a Trello or something like that. But there's so many nuances. It's so hard to just make a one-size-fits-all product. And it's funny, like our customer base, and I'd imagine this is the case because we got lots of friends in contact as well who say the same thing. They share similar sentiments. You can only build so much, and you want to, because ideally you want a one-size-fits-all for most of it so that it's not loaded with customization. But every contractor has a nuanced way of doing something, or they have a certain preference, around how they do purchase orders or how they do their time cards. Time cards is crazy, and that's why you see all these single-point solutions for time cards. I mean, these companies, they build great products, but they're single point solutions, right? And then people end up with like loads of different apps. And now you'll see here that you're ending up with all these different companies that have been funded. You're getting loads of fragmentation in your construction tech offerings, right? We want to read through this a little bit. How does it relate to this conversation here? Okay, so investments in construction technology surged 85% between 2020 and 2022. That's kind of what I was saying, right? That whole COVID era boom of all that dry powder in there. So just tons, and obviously there was just loads of greenfield in construction tech. Hang on. And I mean, there still is. There's still lots of open parts of the market to just get in, and still so much of the industry that uses manual process. It's always astounding. Great big companies as well doing, loads of revenue every year that still, use manual process, but they found something that works. But yeah, getting into this a little bit more. So the report found, so they did a report and they found, just trying to go through this here to see, the construction site in 2023 still looks much like it has in 1923, right? Manual bricklaying, blueprints, laborious things, hand-built scaffolding, et cetera, it's true. And we talk about this with the robotics thing, is like, there's only so much that is not redundant on a job site that you could automate or, have the same thing over and over again. But it's still so different and so nuanced. But so the analysis that they've done here, this is again a construction dive thing. Insight for construction firms struggling to crack context code by putting blame squarely at the feet of the customers they're trying to sell to. Never going to blame the customers for this, but the fragmentation of construction projects, multiple stakeholders must converge to raise a single new structure and infrastructure element out of the ground has held tech adoption back. I was just saying that, right? There's all these companies in construction on a job site together. You could have 30 together on a high-rise project or more. Companies upon companies, just trying to coordinate them all. Everyone's got a different way of doing things. Everyone uses a different piece of construction tech, right? Now, the GC or the prime or whatever might have that big all-encompassing one that is the project hub, but it still requires everyone to then, get out of what they're used to, get into something they're not, or maybe they're kind of familiar with, interact in that environment, then go back in their own environment, then actually go and do work, and then come back and then have to navigate that. It's construction was fragmented. Then construction tech offerings were fragmented. Then their adoption of construction tech further fragments things. It's really interesting. I mean, maybe it's interesting as a construction tech guy, and guys like James and I, that this would resonate a little bit more. But I would think, our customers and our audience and those listening that are in pure construction, that are out there building, this would resonate, that they would understand this, that they would see it themselves. We hear it all the time. Customers will be like, companies XYZ is using Procore, and these guys are using Autodesk, and these guys are using a Sitemax and or a safety app or a time app or whatever, and they want us to report a certain way in their system, and it doesn't talk to the other one. And it was fragmented before this. And now with things that are supposed to streamline construction, it's further fragmented. That's why it's good, if you can find a reasonable set of tools, a smaller set of tools that you can build consistency. You can be quite productive. You can have, something that's maybe a little all-encompassing of a platform, so you can consolidate multiple apps, streamline things a little bit more. Talk a little bit about that. And I got some thoughts. Around what's kind of like an ideal set of tools. And this isn't just like, he's got the Sitemax hat on. Talk about Sitemax. But just in putting content in boxes, just thinking about it, as practically as one can. But yeah, is there anything else in this article here? Average construction company employs fewer than 10 people. The average construction project involves more than 100 different suppliers and subcontractors. I keep throwing around the number 30. Maybe I'm way off. I mean, I guess if you really factor in all the vendors, all the chains, everything that's involved in putting a project together, that's a lot. That's an awful lot. 100 different suppliers and contractors. So achieving scale requires selling to a large number of companies. Yeah. The result is the sales growth for contact companies is labor intensive. Yep, we know that. We found different ways. This podcast as well. It does well. It's great for industry advocacy and customer retention. We have lots of customers come on here. It's fun, but it's labor intensive, and in a slow and risk averse market. Like these are things we were hearing like a decade ago with contact. You know, a lot really still hasn't changed that much. But once tech is adopted, it's extremely sticky. Yep, no doubt, it's true. It really is. I mean, once you get in and you figure out, we talk about a lot in construction, you use a tool. I mean, it's probably similar, Dave, producer Dave, you've got your pieces of equipment. You probably have your brands you're loyal to, right? Well, in construction, people use tools, use equipment, use certain gadgets, machinery. They become loyal. They build relationships. And when you have so many things to coordinate, again, 100 different contractors on a job, you need consistency. You need something that you can rely on, you can depend on. You need your allies, all that kind of stuff. Well, context no different. Software selection, choice, everything like that. Find the good ones. Okay, so here's my thought. I wrote some notes about this. The ideal tool combo, and Dave, tell me if I'm crazy. Having gone through this and done lots of sales myself in this space, the ideal combo. 3 tools when it comes to contact. Okay. Now this is just my hypothesis. Okay, 3 tools. And oftentimes we'll come across people that are using, and I'm talking about 3 tools for your entire business. I'm talking everything, like end to end. But we have people that come in and they've got 6 to 10. Different app here. Some sites use an app, some sites don't use an app. A couple sites using multiple different apps. It's crazy. Just think about the disorganization there within your own business. That's one company. But 3, a corporate project management tool. You see a lot of construction companies using like MS Teams. Okay, you've got your corporate stuff. You're in the office, your project management team, your operations team, your accounting team, payroll, HR, et cetera, leadership. You're able to all, and I'm not recommending that one particularly, but you need a corporate project management tool that comes with a communication tool. So like a Slack, MS Teams, I think has something like that as well. But to be able to keep all those things in projects, productivity, upcoming things, like oversight, like high-level project management tool, okay? Corporate PM tool. Then you need your construction management tool, okay? This is like the magic happens on the job site. Yes, contracts, they get done in the office, they get negotiated. Yes, you have dollar amounts, you have estimates, budgets, things that are agreed upon, certain margins, et cetera, but they're made or broken on a job site. If you don't have the right tool that's guiding your team, collecting information, analyzing that data, properly bringing it together, all the hard work you're doing in the office is a waste, or could be a waste. You could be throwing away razor thin margins or tighter margins, not having a reined in job site. And then, so that's a corporate project management tool, a construction management job site tool, which of course includes some PM tools as well. And then, of course, you need your financial backend. I know I'm leaving out like, you don't have your planning stuff or you don't have your estimating, and you know what? Good. Maybe it ties into one of those, right? Factors into one of those. But if you have those core pillars, your corporate project management, your construction management, and then your financial management, those pieces all tie together nicely. Again, my thoughts, you can tell me if I'm wrong. You can share whatever your thoughts are. I would love to have more conversation around that. But I think that kind of tidies up that. That's the contact part. And anything else, Dave? Is this making sense? I think this is this one's good. Okay, so like I said, we're a construction pod, so we always want to talk about cultural issues, and there's so much in culture like that's just so divisive, and I feel like I won't get into it too much. But construction, I feel like we have so many conversations, just like very real conversations all the time. Oh, this happened, or this person's doing this again, or whatever. And it comes on both sides, all sides, whatever side it's happening. But, okay. So here's this one here. In the US, they have something, it's called E-Verify. Now, not a pro on this, have heard about it for sure. I listen to some political podcasts, Canadian and American. So I hear these things come up. You hear maybe the digital ID thing in Canada. You hear E-Verify in the States. Similar concepts, probably different one up here, that digital ID thing, banking related, whatever, but could be used in a similar way, I guess, to E-Verify, in that it's basically verifying, and I'll read this here just because, again, this is more of a conversation, just outlining what it is and just kind of objectively looking at it. But it's used by the Department of Homeland Security, so the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It's a website that allows businesses to determine the eligibility of their employees. Okay? This particular article here in Construction Dive is focusing on Florida. Florida, they're all over. They're always in the hot topic news, whatever, for good, for bad, for worse, whatever. They're always in there. In sports, lots of good sports in Florida these days. Florida Panthers. Hope they pull it out. I don't know. I could go for seeing the Peas win. I have a funny story about a ex-Florida Panther. Maybe I'll share another time. After they got swept in the, I think it was 90 something playoffs. Anyway, I digress. And the Miami Heat obviously just lost to Denver. Sorry, all the Heat fans. But in Florida, here we go, E-Verify. So where this relates to construction, and this also ties into, of course, and this is a whole other breakout conversation on immigration, on those that are coming in to a country that maybe are not coming through proper channels or aren't verified in a sense, which of course is, there's controversy and things in itself. But these men and women, big for agriculture, big for construction, big for the trades. We see it in Canada too, quite a bit, in terms of certain demographics being really great for certain trade designations. Well, in Florida, this article here is, it's not really painting Florida in any sort of a good or bad light. It's just basically saying this is what E-Verify is, and this is the problem, is that you have a lot of these individuals that are going to be displaced potentially from their families because some are there and have been for a while and have their proper registration. So the negatives here are families. This is just quoted right out of the article. Families leaving Florida right now with some of their work and some of their family members who are legal, some of them who are not. And they're deciding whether or not they're going to split their families up and live in different states, because some states have this and enforce it more particularly. And so it's causing problems in agriculture, construction, tourism. Just happens to be where the most jobs are in Florida. Up in Canada, construction could really be number one. I mean, I think it's got a little ways. Some pockets are quite hot. So what's the message here? With E-Verify being strictly enforced in a state like Florida, well, here it's saying stay away to unauthorized workers. Okay, so just looking at this again, it's interesting that certain pockets again, like I was saying, certain states are following this, and maybe there's no mandates, there's no federal mandates, there's nothing like that around it, but it's interesting. They're saying here this is going to have a lot of negative consequences. It's tough, with construction gaps in labor, with jobs, with people coming into countries that have certain skill sets. There's lots of different ways to get people working, and I think that if people come in with certain skill sets, they should be able to. And this doesn't just apply to construction; this could apply to medicine, and that's the conversation in Canada, right? Doctors coming from other countries that immigrate here, and they don't have the same accreditations. They have their doctor in one country, but they don't match the criteria for being in Canada. And I was listening to that real estate podcast. They're saying, doctor comes over from India, let's say, and I think that's what he said, and full-time Uber driver. And it's like, well, they're a doctor. Is there some sort of up test?
Friend that's a lawyer in construction here because he can't get his law certificate.
Oh, he's a lawyer. You have a friend, he's a lawyer in construction.
He's a lawyer in Mexico.
Oh, lawyer in Mexico. Oh, no way. Okay. Well, bar transferring stuff. Yeah, and I get it. Like, I get it. Like, there's always going to be not just hoops to jump through, but legitimate things boxes you need to check, things that that are required that you need to fulfill in terms of education, in terms of experience, in terms of skill. I get it. But when it comes to construction, you have hardworking men and women who want to be a part of an industry. Again, this is no opinion one way or another, but there's got to be a way to figure out how you can fill certain jobs and get people going And so, but I understand, this potentially does weed a lot of people out when you have particular things like this. E-Verify, mandated, not mandated, enforced, maybe used a little more, little regimented a little bit further, that it could cause complications or change things around. I don't know. I mean, is there anything really? It was just more just throwing this one out there. And it seems to be that way with more of these third topics that we do in the weekly site report. We just kind of chuck them out there, food for thought. We'll get to more of this stuff, breaking out. I'm sure that we'll have guests that come on that want to discuss certain things here. But I think that kind of tidies things up. I think that brings it all together. That's the weekly site report. That's our third one. Again, James, he'll be back. I hope that was good. I feel like I listen to a lot of podcasts that have guys or hosts that just rant and they go on and on and on. And they're usually opinion pieces, but or there's some objective ones too that just kind of lay out details and cover them and just provide both sides of a story. It was fun. Had a few sips of water, mouth's a little dry, but I think they went okay. Anyway, be sure to hop on YouTube and like these clips, these reels that all come from the weekly site report, and be sure to subscribe. We're enjoying them. Let us know. Just comment. Just throw a comment out there. Man, I sucked. He sucked. He was terrible. Or that was really fun. That was great. It was good to cover these things, or just topics and things like that. But thank you for joining me, and for those that will be at the Meet the Generals. We will see you soon, and look forward to an upcoming week. We got a couple episodes recording next week. Going to be a full schedule coming right at you. But thanks again, and we'll do this again sometime. Actually, you know what? When it comes to construction management software and an all-in-one job site management platform, you got to try SiteMax. Whether you're consolidating multiple apps or streamlining construction workflows, or simply just eliminating manual process, you got to try the all-in-one job site management platform built for construction. They're our presenting sponsor of the Site Visit podcast, and you can check them out at sitemax.cloud.